What if I told you that the part of you that scares you the most is precisely the part that needs to be heard the most? You may not realize it, but you carry a dark side within you, made up of everything you've denied, repressed, or hidden in order to be accepted. This side, which psychiatrist Carl Jung called the shadow, doesn't disappear with time. On the contrary, the more you ignore it, the more power it gains over your emotions, your choices, and who you become. How many times have you felt angry and not been able to explain it? How many times have you reacted in an exaggerated, impulsive, aggressive, or cold way, and then regretted it? How many times have you sabotaged your own happiness, as if something inside you took pleasure in seeing everything fall apart? This is not bad luck. This is unintegrated shadow. In this video, we'll take you on an intense and liberating journey to help you recognize, confront, and finally embrace this hidden side of yourself. Not to destroy yourself, but to rebuild yourself with truth, with courage, and with self-love. Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. This content is very in-depth and is for those who are ready to truly transform themselves. If it makes sense to you, activate the bells and join us, because running away from your shadow is running away from who you really are. But when you decide to face it, you become whole. Chapter 1. The shadow you avoid is deciding your life. Have you ever had the feeling that something inside you is in control, even when you're trying to do everything right? It's as if there's an invisible force sabotaging your relationships, your decisions, your peace. You promise to change, but you repeat the same patterns. You want to be understood, but you close yourself off more and more. You want freedom, but you feel trapped inside. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it destiny." This is the shadow. It does not shout, it does not impose itself, it whispers. And this whisper, when ignored, turns into a scream, into an explosion, into self-sabotage. The shadow is formed by everything you have repressed in order to be accepted. Your anger, your envy, your pride, your most hidden desires, but also your sensitivity, your vulnerability, your creativity. By denying this side, you divide yourself, and you end up living half-heartedly. So the truth is hard, but liberating. What you avoid in yourself controls you. The path to a more authentic life begins with courage, the courage to look within, not to blame yourself, but to free yourself. If this reflection has touched something within you, leave your like now. It's not just a button, it's a clear sign that you're ready to take this journey in depth. Chapter 2. How your shadow silently manifests itself in your everyday life. Have you ever stopped to notice the small automatic reactions you have throughout the day? Irritation with someone who thinks differently, criticism disguised as a sincere opinion, cold silence when you really want to shout. All of these are expressions of the shadow manifesting itself, not in a grand way, but in a subtle way. The shadow does not appear only in extreme moments. It is in the hasty judgments, in the pleasure of feeling superior, in the jealousy that you justify as care, in the anger that you rationalize as a fair response. It is in the fake smiles, in the choked "it's okays," in the invitations that you decline for fear of rejection. The problem is that as these attitudes are socially accepted, you don't even realize that you are moving away from your essence. You start to function on autopilot, as if you were wearing a comfortable but suffocating mask. Jung warned us, do not become a mere reflection of what others expect of you. But that is exactly what happens when you disconnect from your inner truth and act only to please, avoid conflict, or keep up appearances. The shadow disguises itself. It loves to hide in the details. And it is only when you allow yourself to observe with brutal honesty that you begin to realize, that's me too, and I need to embrace it. Now tell me in the comments, what behavior of yours do you feel could be an expression of your shadow? This is a safe space. Your experience can help other people see themselves too. Chapter 3. The origins of your shadow. Wounds, repressions, and masks. No one is born afraid of being who they are. The fear of showing oneself comes later, like a scar from something that hurt too much to be. The shadow forms in childhood when you learn, often cruelly, that certain parts of who you are not welcome. When crying was called weakness, when showing anger got you punished, when speaking your mind made someone walk away. Little by little, you understand that to be accepted, you need to hide. So you hide, you keep quiet, you pretend, you build masks, and you distance yourself from yourself. Jung said, "The shadow originates where love has been denied." And it's true. Every shadow is born from abandonment, from abandoning yourself. Because when no one validates what you feel, you start to believe that what you feel is wrong. And living with shame of your own essence is a silent torture. Perfectionism, for example, is often just a childish fear of making mistakes and being rejected. The need for control, the trauma of growing up in chaos. Emotional coldness, the reflection of someone who is tired of being disappointed by love. These wounds are not flaws. They are parts of you that are crying out for attention, not punishment. And the problem isn't having them, it's continuing to pretend they don't exist. When you understand where your shadow comes from, it stops being a monster and starts looking like a scared child, just waiting for a look of compassion. Chapter 4. The price of running away from yourself. The symptoms of non-confrontation. Running away from yourself seems at first glance the safest choice, but the price for that is living a life that is not yours. When you don't confront your shadow, it begins to creep into the innermost corners of your existence. Anxiety, for example, is often not a fear of the future, but the weight of what you've been avoiding in the present. Procrastination may not be laziness, but rather an unconscious resistance to dealing with feelings you don't want to face. You sabotage yourself, but you don't understand why. You get involved with people who hurt you, as if you unconsciously wanted to confirm an old pain. You stick to routines that make you sick, because changing would require an internal confrontation that you're not yet ready to face. And all of this comes at a cost. Shallow relationships, fragmented self-esteem, a constant feeling of emptiness, even when everything seems fine. You know that weight you feel without knowing where it comes from? It could be the accumulation of all the truths you are afraid to look at. The denial of the shadow makes the soul sick, but there is something liberating about the moment you allow yourself to say, "Yes, it's in me, and I choose to look." This step requires strength, and if you are here, it is because you are already walking this path, even if slowly. If this content is making sense to you, leave your like now. It's a simple gesture, but it shows that you are committed to your own transformation. Chapter 5. Facing the Shadow. The beginning of true emotional freedom. Facing your own shadow is not an act of courage, it is an act of love. Love for yourself, and for everything that was once forgotten, silenced, or misinterpreted within you. Contrary to what you might think, the shadow does not want to destroy you. It just wants to be recognized. It cries out for awareness, for acceptance, for a space where it can exist without being condemned. The first step towards this is honest. Self-observation is not about judging your reactions, but about asking what's behind this. Anger, fear, need for control, want to be seen. Embracing your shadow means starting to create an inner space where everything can be seen without shame. It means exchanging punishment for compassion. It means ceasing to demand perfection and starting to seek wholeness. Jung stated, "No one becomes enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making darkness conscious. Light does not come from denying darkness, but from integrating it." Practices such as journaling, therapeutic writing, contemplative meditation, Jungian therapy, and even deep conversations with trusted people can be powerful avenues for self-exploration. But nothing is more transformative than the daily decision to look at yourself with truth, even when what you see is frightening. You don't have to eliminate the shadow. You have to dance with it. You have to understand it, name it, embrace it as part of your humanity. Because only when you allow yourself to be whole do you begin to live free. Chapter 6. Transforming pain into wisdom. The alchemy of the conscious soul. All pain carries a call for transformation. Pain does not come to destroy you. It comes to reveal what has been broken for a long time inside you. When you embrace your shadow, you don't become perfect. You become real. And being real is much more powerful than being ideal. True soul alchemy begins when you stop running from pain and start listening to it. When instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What does this want to show me about myself?" And little by little, something changes. Resentment turns to understanding. Anger turns to assertiveness. Fear turns to presence. Pain turns to wisdom. You understand that everything that hurt you prepared you to be a more whole person. Someone who loves without sacrificing themselves, who sets limits without feeling guilty, who no longer needs to hide behind masks because they no longer feel ashamed of themselves. Carl Jung teaches us that integrating the shadow is the path to individuation, the process of becoming who you were born to be. You no longer have to live at war with your own parts. Inner peace does not come from denial, it comes from reconciliation. Now tell me, honestly, which part of your shadow do you have the most difficulty accepting? If you have the courage, write in the comments. This conversation doesn't end here. It continues within you, and among everyone else who is also on this path. In the end, all the shadow wants is for you to come home. It is the echo of the parts of you that were left behind, and every time you deny it, you deepen the wound. But every time you acknowledge it with compassion, something in you heals. True strength is not in appearing strong. It is in having the courage to look deeply into yourself and continue to love yourself, even when what you see is not pretty. That is emotional maturity. That is freedom. The shadow doesn't go away, but when you learn to talk to it, it stops screaming. And it is in this silence that you begin to hear your own soul. If this journey touched you in any way, subscribe to the channel. This space exists for those who are tired of living on the surface and want to dive into what really matters. Here, you will never be alone in your search for authenticity, healing, and reconnection. Activate the bell. Walk with us, because every awakening process begins with a simple gesture. Choose not to abandon yourself anymore.